So that's also keeps this code just slightly shorter. Now, there's other more complicated ways of doing this, but like I've said before, more complicated isn't necessarily better. So if I go into drive by file, my original one, this old version, and I look here, I'm actually setting it to go unlimited and then waiting for degrees. That's because this was originally set up to be able to turn left or right. Because you'll see here it reads its steering information directly. And then I had to implement this wait for degrees function that would wait for degrees my block that would take in the duration and change it and cut the engines once it surpassed that. It's not the most user-friendly of interfaces. This, however, is a lot nicer. So I'm going to save that, go into my file driver, and huzzah, it is there and it will work now. So I could say move forward 102, and then I could say move backward 103. Or I could say go 50% power. Now, I already messed up. I messed up because of this space right here. I'm not 100% sure how and why it messes up, because sometimes I seem to be able to get away with the space, sometimes I can't. But let's just be sure that we don't have spaces at the end of our lines. Okay? So this accomplishes a pretty useless program so far. It moves forwards and backwards. So let's instead see if we can get it to, well, I'll save turning for another video. Alright? So I'm going to make sure everything I have is saved. We have exit, break, comment, move, all implemented. Now we need to do turn and wait. So we're going to do wait real quick. It is not that bad. Whoops. I know that it's going to be kind of like that. Actually, more to the point, I want to drag this over in here and make this a my block. And we're pretty much going to follow the same procedure in here. Except this time we only need to read one thing, and it's going to be a number. Make sure you change that from write to read. Okay, if you don't, it'll mess up. Now, alright, forgot what I was doing for one moment. So it's going to supply us a number, say like 1 for 1,000. Now, the thing is, when I pull out this wait block, and I set it to time, and I try and open up its port, you will see that it does not allow me to do that. Whoops. So we have to come up with some other clever way of waiting. And how we're going to accomplish this is with our timer. We're just going to use timer 1. There's 3 timers built in. Think of it as 3 separate kitchen timers. And we're going to start by resetting it. And we're going to wait. We're going to do something over and over and over. Particularly, we're going to do nothing over and over and over until this timer has a value that is greater than the value that I've read in from here. So I'm going to create a variable. Again, a lot of what I'm doing with variables here can be done with wires. Not everything I do, but almost all of it. I just prefer to use variables because that's more in line with the way that I think is, with my background in programming things that aren't this. So we're going to call that just time, and it's of course going to be a number. We're going to want to write in that value. But this timer here is of course in milliseconds. So I'm going to, and of course if you go in here and you click on its help file, it will come up as saying that it's in milliseconds. So I'm going to multiply that number I have by 1,000 to turn it into milliseconds. Connect the results over to my time block, and in here I'm going to need to read it and compare. Now you'll notice that I'm always using the less than sign. Oh, and of course my loop needs to be logic. I'm always using the less than sign in all of my comparisons, because in programming, if you are saying something like 3 is less than x and x is less than 5, that makes perfect sense, because that is like saying that 3 is less than x is less than 5. So what type of values can x have? X could be 3.5 or 4.5. Now, it's very easy to miss something like that, this is a totally perfectly legal statement to make in a computer program. It's always going to be false, but it's fine to make that. And I can even put it like this. If we always use the less than signs, it allows us to construct a picture of the numbers in ascending value. So I'm going like -2 is less than 20. I can't type either. That's fine, but is 20 less than -2? No. Is 20 greater than -2? Maybe you miss the negative sign and you don't actually see it. Anyways, it's just trust me, use less than signs. Alright, so when the timer is less than the time that we have to go, then we're going to return true, and this thing exits on true. Oh, by the way, in other programming languages, usually the loop will go until it is false. Alright, so usually most programming languages would behave like this, but we're just going to say until true, because I'm trying to write not a continuation expression, but an exit expression. So I'll save this, go back here, and voila, my wait now works. Turn is going to be slightly more in depth because we have to come up with some specific behaviors. So I'm going to kill the video here and try and get some of this uploaded, and maybe do the turn video. Alright.